Hi everyone, welcome to We Belong Education podcast. I am Saurubh, and I'm joined with my co-host from Sydney, Helen. How are you
Hello,
doing, Helen?
I'm really great. How are you?
I'm good, and I am happy that we're on the same. What's the time? No, what's it called? Time zone.
Time
We're in
zone.
the same time zone.
Today,
I was
yes,
gonna say
finally, we're
timeline.
thank goodness this is the first podcast we've recorded where we haven't completely struggled to be able to
Mm.
synchronize our times because
Mm-hmm.
while it was only an hour difference,
Yep.
apparently I can't math very well and
Neither can I. There
wow,
are times that I've struggled
some
really
crazy
bad.
things
Yes.
happened.
Yes, yes. Especially like traveling to Sydney from Brisbane and then catching a flight and then mixing it all up.
Yeah.
It has happened to me all the time. So I'm glad because of that. Um,
Mm,
Helen, there's a topic, today's topic about emotional well-being. There's something
mm,
that you and I have talked about a lot and have
mhm,
reflected with our peers and colleagues in the past. We
mm.
thought, why don't we do a podcast? And I'm very aware of something today, though. This is not going to complete be finished in 1 hour kind of thing, but hopefully
No.
there are things that we can touch on, and maybe we can leave our listeners with some questions that they can perhaps
Mm,
assist us with, because we are not. I don't think we claim to be gurus of this field, but tell
no.
me, there was a reason. The last time that we were talking, you told me about the importance of well-being, and I want listeners to know that too. Tell
Mm.
me why it is important for you to discuss this topic, Helen.
Well, firstly, as my not serious answer would be that I always joke that I wanted to do a well-being podcast just so I could bring my dogs on the podcast because they're my and I've got one right down here next to
Mhm,
me right now. They're
mhm,
my yeah, they're huge, I think, within my own well-being. But on a more personal note, it's about a year to the almost the day,
wow.
and you know this very well. But for our listeners who, are just getting to know me, about a year ago, I really did crash and burn. I had a really, really hard time and kind of had to build myself back up. And the experiences I had then. Was interesting because I've always prioritized my own staff's
Mhm,
well-being. I've always genuinely cared about how to look after them, and then I kind of found myself in a situation where my well-being suffered. I'm not going to completely take ownership of that myself. I think there was other
mhm,
mechanisms in there as well. It's not just
mhm,
I'm not going to just say, "Oh, it was me. I didn't prioritize my well-being," because we all know there's it's multifaceted and there's much more
yeah.
of that. But I
Mhm,
think that's why I would like to talk about well-being. But also we talk about well-being a lot. The two of us, we
mm,
genuinely talk about
mm.
what is it? How do we I can't even think of my words. I think we talk a lot about what can we do. We don't think it's being spoken about a lot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's have a look at what you've said so far. You've said last year to the day you had using your words crash and burn,
Mm-hmm.
not literally but emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
crash and burn, and then you had been looking after your staff members' well-being. That is one of your priorities, and
Mm,
we all know that. Those who know Helen know that she is a big advocate of that. But in doing so, not just in doing so, as you said, multifaceted, you yourself found to be needing some care for yourself.
mm,
And no, it's not being discussed that widely. I
mm,
think because it's assumed that people will just do it by themselves. It's an area that everybody
mm,
thinks is important, yet I don't think that it is in our policies, or it is in like actions are taken or steps are taken to do. And I'm not talking about the pizzas, the steps taken. Well,
or the cupcakes.
well, it is important. You know what? When I like cupcakes a lot, so I know the value of cupcake when I didn't get one and others got one. So I think that's when I go, hang on, there was a cupcake and I didn't get it. So I guess I'm not demeaning pizzas or cupcakes. They are important when you're hungry, but it is not discussed, as in it's not a widely spoken topic, such as, let's say, behaviors.
Mm,
It won't, or staff appraisals or
mm,
pay rates. Those are big topic, critical reflection. But I don't think
mm,
staff well-being. And I guess one of the factors that I said was maybe because it's assumed that we work with adults and then adults will look after themselves or would do
yep,
or would already have structures in place to assist themselves. But I
mm,
also have an issue with the word emotional well-being, and I've been reflecting on it. And
mm,
I think emotional well-being in itself um, isn't appreciative of all the dimensions or of other dimensions that
mm,
impact one's emotional well-being. We don't talk about physical well-being.
mm.
Uh, Imagine Tuesdays, everybody would do physical well-being session or would do something physically at workplace. How many sick leaves would we get? Like people will get offended. Like, how dare you ask me to move? You know, like, physical well-being is not only about moving, by the way, guys. I understand fine
Mm,
motor skills, gross motor skills. I understand physicality is not just about that.
mm,
Now imagine physical well-being, emotional well-being. Yes, it's talked about a lot,
mm,
not discussed a lot, but kind of mm, sold a lot. And then
mm.
we've got what about
Men-
social well-being?
Yep, social well-being, we've got mental well-being, we've got
Yeah,
emotional, yeah,
cognitive
emotional, which is
well-being.
where you really want to focus on
Yeah.
today. Before we like really dive down and look at that lens of
Hmm.
emotional well-being, I was looking up because I kind of just was like, what does educator well-being mean? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
what is it, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and then I was looking on a Sequa's website, and they've got a page called Educator Wellbeing. Everyone, you might not know, but they do. And literally, the first quote says, "A Sequa's national education leader, Rhonda Livingston, encourages you to consider your own well-being and the role it plays in working with children, families, and colleagues."
Hmm.
Now, then I was thinking, I always love to joke about theorists, and I was thinking, we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we know children need to feel like all their need for
Physiological
food,
needs.
water,
Yep.
shelter, safety, love, all that stuff needs to be met before we can educate them.
Hmm.
But then we as educators are often actually totally ignoring our needs being met
Yep.
before we turn up for these children.
Yep.
Um, which we know I've got a weird sense of humor and I love thinking of things in that way.
Hmm.
But I really was thinking, wow, for people that really do turn up for
Yep.
children and try and be our best selves.
Hmm.
And we know sometimes we push stuff right down, especially
Yep.
emotions. You know, we push stuff right down to get through the shift and then
Yeah.
leave. Um, it can do some not great things for us.
I appreciate that. I mean, this is what I believe in because you said that you have a weird sense of humor. Why don't know? I think oh, this is going very metaphysical. So
Mm,
hopefully I don't I still keep a track of what I'm saying. In the name of freedom, I
mm,
think we're not looking after our emotional well-being or well-being,
mm,
full stop. So that is, adults are free to do what they want to do.
mm,
No, don't tell me what to do, kind of thing. That's how we
mm.
roll.
Yep.
Children are in our care. So we kind of structure things around so that, hey, this would be good for their physical well-being. This would be good for their emotional well-being. Let's do
Mm,
this activity, that activity, and they are in our care. Whereas you
mm,
and I, as I said earlier, there are some dimensions that I've been thinking about:
mm,
spiritual well-being,
mm.
ideological well-being, physical well-being,
Yep.
ethical well-being,
Mm,
emotional well-being, physical, cognitive, and well-being that and are there. But what if I was to say that every Thursday will be social well-being? We're gonna go and interact with other people. People say, "Don't tell me what to do.
yep.
I'm an adult. I know what to do." And I think in the name of freedom, or we have sold freedom in a very interesting way because we
Mm.
think that we are capable of doing what is the right thing to do, but we might be capable of executing the thing, but we may not know if it's the right thing because we don't
Well,
have mentors.
I kind of get I mean, to back up what you're saying, and like I said, I won't take complete ownership of what happened last year, but
Mm.
when it really got to breaking point, and I'll admit I marched into my CEO's office and said, "I'm quitting. That's it.
Okay.
No more."
Yep.
And
Yep.
he said, "No, you are not."
Hmm.
And he said, "What you're going to do is you're going to go on leave." And um, him and two of our execs, they locked me out of my email so that I could not actually work anymore.
Hmm.
And I was mad. I was
Yeah.
so mad. I was like, how? like, don't they know how, like, how can they
Don't tell me
see?
what to
Yeah,
do. It's
exactly
my
that.
right.
Don't tell
It's
me what to do. I was mad that they locked me out of my email,
yeah.
and they literally set me on leave for 2 months. So they really, um, one, it was nice to know that I was valued enough that they wanted
Mhm.
to actually care for me in that way, but also, that's a really funny thing. Of in some ways, I feel like someone needed to hold a mirror up and say, "Hey, Helen, like
Yeah.
this is not good."
This is not good.
But then in other ways, you're completely right. I probably would have gone, "Don't tell me what to
What to
do."
do.
So
Exactly.
I don't
Mhm.
know. It's so tricky, and maybe this is why people don't talk about it more because I mean, that exact point of we are adults, we can make our own choices.
Mhm.
But a lot of the time, when we're not making great choices,
Great
we
choices.
also aren't going to want to hear it.
Yes. Whereas, so last episode we talked about consent and
Mm,
how the two parties or the parties involved have
mm,
give each other consent to say, you know what, yep, you're right. Or if I was to tell you don't work tomorrow and you think that your right to work has been taken away from you,
mm,
then you feel that there is no consent, more like a command being given to you. But working with adults and talking about emotional well-being or well-being, let's just give a bigger, wider name,
mm,
broader name, well-being, which includes all what we know and the things we don't know. It is difficult. It is very difficult. Look at an example. If I'm eating a muffin and I shouldn't eat muffin because I've told you that hey, I'm watching after my sugar intake. You telling me, Saurabh, is that the right thing to do? Would be the I would get offended by that just because I'm an adult right now. And I think, well, how dare you say that to me? So physical well-being is so easy to detect or talk about because it is observable, right?
mm,
We should walk that much. We should run this much. We should eat this or not eat this or something. Whereas
mm,
emotional well-being, adults have also become really good at masking it. I mean, I'm sure that somehow you masked your well-being till or lack of it till you came to the break point. And you go,
mm,
hang on, something is going on. And as you said, someone had to put the mirror in front of you, and I'm going to go back. That's because so that it becomes visible to you.
mm,
Physical one is easily visible, whereas emotional one is not visible at times, because
mm.
that's why it's hidden. So,
Well, I think it's sometimes emotional well-being is hard because sometimes we have a shame. Oh,
yeah.
if I say
Mhm.
this, if I admit to feeling this way, people are going to judge me. Is it going to
Mm,
affect how I'm seen in my workplace?
mm, mm,
Can I actually, am I safe enough to be open? Um,
mm.
that kind of inner inner dialogue that
Yeah,
goes on often doesn't allow us to be completely open because we don't know if it's safe or not.
yeah. No, no, I agree with that. It's something that we've discussed in the past about um, the identities that we have, and many of them we have based on the society we operate within, the structures that affect us, the dimensions that we walk within. For example, when I say I'm an educator, I'm only an educator when I'm working with children or working with my colleagues or peers or clients. But when I'm talking to my dog, I'm not an educator, right? So, but in the same society, I am a male, and male men and men don't cry.
Mm,
So if a men don't cry thing, a narrative that was given to me when I was growing up in India with my sister, and my sister and I are twins. So I got to kind of read a little bit of gender roles. I got to live it, and I also got to see the pros and cons of it. So while men don't cry, girls could cry. And if
mm,
I cry like a girl. So,
mm,
so then we have the shame or sadness to begin with, which is men don't cry. So if I want to cry, it doesn't come out. And
mm,
then if it stays there, physiologically speaking, and please look at some of the videos that we already have on We Belong Facebook page and Instagram page about the difference between thoughts and emotions, because sometimes people confuse emotions, state of mind as emotions, but they're absolutely
mm,
different. So, physiologically speaking, if somebody's sad for a while, for 6 months, let's say, and it comes out, it won't come out as sadness, it may come out as an anger. And then people will still tag me as angry young man. So, from
mm,
sadness to anger, but what is all there is the shame of what if I'm sad, who do I go and talk about, who do I
mm,
go talk to? Children are under supervision, so at all times they are looked after by us. So
Mm,
even if they don't want to talk about something, if you and I saw it, you will approach them. Hey,
mm,
talk about something. Whereas, unfortunately, sometimes you and I, as adults, will be sad and we just want to be left alone, and we go and shut the door, and then we don't come out for 3 days. I'm like, hang on, where were you? So that is that's the social well-being that I wanted to tag in. That society that we grow up, that we work within,
mm,
has some what we call as ties.
mm,
We are bounded to it. We are not independent. We don't walk as an independent person. We walk as a person who lives in this society and therefore acts as if what the society would want from him or her in this
mm.
case. How does that sound, Helen, in terms of shame and society?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, this is actually such a huge topic. You're right. I don't know if you said this while we're recording or before we start press record, but you had said to me, this is going to be big. It is huge. Literally, just even now, I'm thinking just even only focusing on one facet of well-being, being emotional well-being. It is a lot. And just already, I think the shame thing is really come to the
It's hard.
forefront of my mind because I
Mhm.
think that does play a huge amount. Even just what you were saying about, the way you grew up as a
Mhm.
male,
Mhm. Mhm.
and your understandings around kind of you don't show emotion.
Mhm.
Um, how can, these males in our sector then feel okay to be open about their own
Yeah,
emotional well-being? Because, oh,
yeah.
someone might judge me because I'm feeling a certain way.
That way, yeah.
Um, it's a
Mhm.
lot, and my mind is kind of swirling, and I don't know where to go from here. But
Well, I'll help you.
let's keep
Let's look
going.
at what because someone who has been interviewing people, such as yourself, you've been
Mm,
asking people before this podcast. Why don't we start with that and see what people are doing to deal with
okay.
this a lot? Yeah.
We did ask for feedback around what people do,
Mhm.
or actually, there was two kind of questions going around. One was, what does your organization do? And
Mm.
another one was, what do you do to personally
Yeah.
look after your
Mhm.
well-being?
Mhm.
One person said to me that they do a lot of self-talk, positive self-talk, I
Mhm.
suppose, affirmation.
Self-affirmations. Yeah, yeah.
They do that to help kind of frame
Mhm.
the way they go into the day.
Yeah.
Another one said to me that they've started just looking at things differently. What is
Right.
actually in my control, and
Mhm.
that I think sometimes, especially within our sector, we know we're so highly regulated, and there's so much
Mhm.
we have to do. We've got to comply with national quality
Mhm. Mhm.
standards. We've got to,
Mhm.
comply with
Yeah.
um, my time, our place, early use framework, all of those things, plus the laws and regs. If you if you're running it all yourself, you've also got
Having
to
your own
worry about
kids,
about
being a
CCS
teacher. Yeah,
laws and regs as well, and just it's a lot.
yeah, yeah.
And so I think
So they
they were just
reframe it.
talking about that, just trying to really I suppose reframe in their
Yeah, yeah,
mind
yeah.
what
Mhm.
actually is in my control and also what is my responsibility.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would love to discuss those two things.
Okay.
The affirmation that we talked about, and there was a dinner gathering between me, Helen, and a friend, and then I had a strong opinions about affirmations. I'm not going to belittle affirmations. Affirmations are good, but I have a comment on affirmation that we need to do affirmations in the right manner or don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say I'm amazing, remember I'm amazing or you're amazing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that can create conflict on a bad day because you
Mm-hmm.
can say like I just did something really wrong at workplace. I come home knowingly, as in not knowingly I did it, but I know that I have done something absolutely wrong that I was trained 5 times about. And I come home and I read on the fridge, I'm amazing. Like, no, I'm not. Not today, I'm not. So I shouldn't be reading that right now because that creates that conflict. Like, are you though? Because then it makes you the fridge is now judging your judgment about are you nice. I'm amazing. So instead of that, like some of the times for authentic affirmations, I've been requesting people to look at, for example, I'm learning.
Mm,
So you can have a good day, you have a bad day. Look at it and say, I'm learning. Okay,
mm,
cool. So I'm learning. Another one I say, mistakes teach me. On bad days, that would really be really helpful. Mistakes
mm,
teach me. That's a good affirmation.
mm,
People can comment and tell me what their views are, but mistakes teach me. I saw that on an eraser at a school.
mm,
As they were erasing it, mistakes
mm.
teach me, just so that you
Oh.
remember that, hey, I'm rubbing something. I'm learning something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then someone would say, like I had a group. I was talking to a group of people, and they said, "I hate my boss," so I wrote on my wall, "I love my boss," and I just do it all the time to, let's say, reframe my mind. Like, wouldn't that create conflict though? Because you every time you look at it, you go look at the wall and think, "But I hate him."
And
So
you start throwing darts at it. So
Dart said it. But you can write it as long as you have actually again done it with a different context. For example,
mm,
so if you want to write it, you can say this to yourself. Every time I talk to my boss,
mm,
we argue. We argue. Sometimes I win, sometimes he wins.
mm,
And that's exactly how my life is.
mm,
I get to have an opinion. There are a few things that I get to do. There are a few things that are not in my control.
mm,
But I've been working for 5 years, and although I don't like him, there are times where I've been humbled, where I have learned that I wasn't always right.
mm,
And since I'm a learner, that part of the job I really love. I
mm.
love my boss. Now, that's when you write it with that context, you know that you're going to reframe your mind for the right one. Otherwise, you're just going to say, I love my boss when you actually don't love him. And you actually haven't become aware of what is why am I writing those things? Then that creates conflict. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at
Now,
your views on this.
now
Hello.
I might be remembering wrong, and I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
But do you have things pop up on your phone, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do.
That what
Yeah.
kind of things do you tell yourself for your
Okay.
your own emotional well-being?
So one of the things that pop up every day on mine is be a wise self. There's a
Mm-hmm.
wise, W-I-S-E, wise self. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there is a theory about logical self
Mm-hmm.
and an emotional self.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about self well-being, self-awareness. So let me
Mm.
just go a little bit deeper into it.
Yep.
So, logical self is a self which knows what the right thing is.
Mm-hmm.
If five people were to get together and they were to discuss, analytically speaking, they might come to a similar conclusion. Okay.
Mm.
Emotional self is something which is good, but sometimes it may come across as reactive. So let's say when
Mm.
you're angry and you take a decision, that's you being emotional self.
Mm.
Logical self is that you're too analytical and you may not take any decision because you just keep thinking about it. so
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have to live in duality. And this
Mm.
I'm going to say this word today a couple of times, maybe more. So we live in a duality of either right or wrong or logical or emotional.
Mm.
But we don't have to live in this duality, and we have to come to this point
Mm.
where wise the self is a self where you've thought about what you wanted to thought about, you have felt what you wanted to feel, and then you take a decision. Now, how do you know that you're wise when you're taking a decision? How do you know that you're not emotional?
Mm.
So when you're taking a decision and there is no physiological response, there is no rage in it, there's no excitement, there's no happiness. When you're taking the decision, that's the wise self. So let's say but if there's a rage, if there's something like, I must do it, if there's anxiety, if your heart rates are up, if your breathing is high, consider that decision is an emotional decision still. What is emotions?
Mm.
Emotions are physiological. Your body communicates your emotion. You communicate your emotion through your body. So if
Mm.
somebody, you know that somebody's sad because they walk like a sad person.
Mm.
I don't have to tell you that. So when you are texting someone and you go, and then before you click send or email, and you check with yourself, is there rage? Is this sadness? Then
Mm.
just hold on to it for 10, 15 minutes. So
Mm.
at 9:15 and around 4 o'clock, I remind myself, wise self? Question mark. Say just a thing. Are you operating towards a wise self? So it's a self which is neither logical nor emotional. It is in the center.
Mm,
So the pendulum swings from analysis to emotions. You don't have to live in duality. You can
mm,
just be in the center. And you need sometimes you need other structure than just phone. You might have to call someone
mm,
to get you to wise self.
mm.
How does that sound?
We know
That's
we know who I often call.
therefore we have podcasts now, Helen.
Yeah, I don't call now. It's just we need to record our next podcast. Um, yeah, wow, that's a lot. I really like that idea behind the why self.
Yeah. And it comes from the affirmation. So I'm gonna touch that affirmation again. I'm not discounting the effect of affirmation. But just sometimes when people write affirmation, they write because Pinterest said so. Affirmations are created not because you went to a store and it was really nice line and you were happy. That would be an emotional decision, by the way. Very
Mm,
happy. And you just bought it and you just hung it on your wall. Yeah. That's not affirmation. That's a product. What's an
mm,
affirmation? As to why are you writing it? You just
mm,
sit with it and say, in the time of sadness, what would I say to my best friend?
mm,
What would I say to my best friend? And people, there's a very funny theory about it. If you wrote your inner thoughts about yourself on a piece of paper, and if anybody in the world was to talk to you like that,
mm.
yeah, you wouldn't be their friend.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You wouldn't
yeah.
be their friend. You will not like that person. Meanwhile, you talk to yourself all the time that way.
Yes, I
Not that
really
all
people
the time.
people give it different names. Inner critique, inner saboteur. Lots of people call it different things, but I often quite think, yeah, that inner voice I have really, she's not a kind lady. She does not say nice things, and just often just trying to reframe
Mhm.
kind of that track that goes through your head. And you're
Yeah.
totally right. You wouldn't speak to the children you care for that way. You wouldn't even speak to your friend that way.
Mhm.
Actually, probably often you wouldn't even speak to someone you don't like very much that way.
Yeah, you would
And here we are with this inner track running through our heads.
all the time.
And I think again, this is why it's so tricky. I think it's why we're not focusing on it. It's why we're not often openly talking about it because how do you sum it up? How do you like where do you
Yeah.
go from that? It's a lot.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm liking that we're talking about it, but I'm going to be really interested to hear
Mhm.
um, what other people think maybe following this. I would
Yeah, yeah,
love
sure.
people to get back to us because it is such a huge topic and it's hard and
Mm.
we always see lots of people are leaving our sector, people are burning out from their jobs because
And it's happening
um,
everywhere, Helen.
we're
In not
we're
in
not looking after our well-being.
Yeah, it's happening in other sectors too. Uh,
Yeah.
it's happening in other sectors too because well-being is something which is assumed, not practiced.
Mm,
Well-being is something mostly it is escapism than well-being. Escapism is sold in the name of well-being. Have a drink, you'll feel good. Have a tablet, you'll feel good. Let's go ahead and have party, you'll feel good.
mm,
Why feeling good is the solution?
mm,
Why feeling bad is not a learning opportunity?
mm.
Why are we so driven for, I want to just feel good? Okay. And then what?
Well, I
Feel good
mean,
and then
that's
what?
not that. I mean, again, when we a lot of time we're often feeling so bad. I get wanting to chase feeling good. I can see where you're going with it, and I do
Mhm,
agree with it that, a lot of the things it's a I think sometimes we think of things like it's a destination,
mhm,
like it's a
mhm.
place we've got to get to.
Yeah, yeah,
In regards to actually
yeah, yeah.
know this is a
I'm with you.
journey.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of laugh. Some people have noticed that they're sitting behind me, but just behind me right here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
uh,
see that.
you might be able to see them. It's the grannies from Bluey.
Mm-mm.
And I know people might be screaming at me in the car right now, going, "Helen, that is not escapism." But when I had burnt out so badly last
Mhm,
year, I couldn't watch anything, I couldn't hear anything.
mhm,
Like I was
mhm,
to say I was in a bad way is an understatement, but I just needed something just to space out. And
mhm.
my daughter was teaching kindy last year. And she's like, Mum, just watch the grannies. They're hilarious.
Got it. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm triggering anyone that's listening to us because they're like, no, I can't hear, do not say the word bluey to me. It's enough. I can't hear it. But the grannies are hilarious to me. I love them. They're that
Yeah.
quintessential Aussie old lady, and I
Yeah.
love everything about them, Janice and Rita. Um, but that was my kind of, I suppose,
Yeah.
escapism when I wasn't doing that well.
Well, let me
So,
clarify a little bit more on that. So it's because I'm coming from the affirmation point of view
mm,
still. Yeah. I just want to make sure that feeling good is not what I'm demonizing. The
no,
desire to only feel good,
mm,
the desire to quickly feel good is an emotional choice.
mm,
It's not, in your case, you were suffering.
mm,
You're not struggling. Suffering is a psychological thing. There's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is, and physically, if there's a wound on my hand, you can feel the pain. You'll take painkillers for that.
mm,
Why do you take painkillers for that? So that you can exercise that thing, or you can look after it, or numb it down a little bit. Suffering is psychological. So of course you were suffering. You needed somewhere to
mm,
go. It could be person, it could be practice, it could be the grannies that you just mentioned.
mm.
But you wouldn't, now it's sitting behind you. You're not holding on to it and you're not watching every day 5 hours of that. Like hopefully not. But next thing you know, hey, even if you are, you're just having fun, you're relaxing. There's a difference between being relaxed, chill. So here's what I'm going to say. Two things I'm going to say. So I'm gonna go back to the affirmation. Imagine this is on your wall, affirmation. Be happy. Now that makes me sad because I'm like, well, that's exactly why I'm sad because I can't be happy right now,
Mm.
So this affirmation, or even the rules for the children sometimes we have, be kind, be respectful, be happy. What if the child says, punching that kid makes me happy? Running away from you
I
makes
feel
me
so
happy.
much better now.
Yeah, I feel so much better. And I jumping up, climbing trees and jumping off that wall makes me happy. You told me to be happy, so I'm being happy right now. So
Mm,
this be happy can also be triggersome. So therefore, when I write the word be happy, and I'm not saying don't write be happy in your affirmation, just say happiness is an emotion. So to say be happy, who doesn't want to be happy? I mean,
mm,
is it, have you ever been sad because you couldn't be happy? Like, you go to a move, you go to a party and everybody is like having fun, and then you're okay, but now you're a bit sad because you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Everybody is having fun. So you're
mm,
just sad because you can't be happy. So these affirmations, I would request to have a look at them, just reflect on them.
mm,
Because on a bad day, which one would work? And that's your affirmation. Okay.
mm.
Now,
So,
sorry, so Helen, the
oh,
second thing I
no
want
go.
to just add, so because I'm going to move away from affirmation slightly
Hmm.
just when I'm saying this thing.
Mm,
When I say be happy is an emotional choice, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be happy or should the desire to get there is desirable. Of course, I want the same in my life too.
mm,
And I also watch some Indian shows, by the way, Helen, when I'm having lunch because I just like it. But here's something that I'm gonna put up here. I don't have an answer to that, and I'm gonna wonder what people would think about that. How about we say, uh, be calm? Like this calm. Isn't peace the ultimate goal? Or
mm,
is it the happiness the ultimate goal? Because the flip
mm,
side of happiness could be sadness. And are we escaping to the happiness,
mm,
or we are actually genuinely happy? So this be calm
mm,
uh, is something which is not quiet, not quiet. Quiet is behavioral. If you have a quiet place for children, have a calm place for children, please.
mm,
Quiet is behavioral. That is, don't speak. That's quiet.
mm,
Be calm is physiologically you're calm. You're in the wise self.
mm.
You can then you're rested. You can make a decision which isn't going to be charged decision. Sorry, Helen, I interrupted you. Please, I want to hear from you.
No, 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 that's it's fine. I will admit for our listeners, I'm struggling a little bit with um the idea behind well-being, but then specifically focusing on emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've spoken about it before. We like this podcast to be authentically us, so we purposely don't research before we come in
Mm-hmm.
because we want to be off the cuff. And actually, we're really both of us are really happy to find out on this recording for everyone to know that maybe we're wrong with what we think. It hasn't happened
Exactly.
yet, but we know we're fully aware that it could happen one day,
Yeah,
especially when
yeah.
we're guests in the room. So I just Googled because I'm trying to get my head around the concept. I just Googled what can we do for our emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I really love about Google now is it comes up. You don't even have to go to ChatGTP anymore. It comes up top an AI overview. Tells me to improve
And
my
Alan loves
emotional.
it.
I love AI. To improve emotional well-being, we can prioritize activities like exercising,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness. Do you have an opinion on mindfulness?
Oh, we're coming to that. Yes.
Okay, great. We're getting there. And social connection, which that one just really screamed at me because, and we know I'm coming from an extreme end of where I was at. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I know for myself, the worse I got, the more I withdrew.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't
You're
talk
right.
to anyone. I didn't go out. I didn't socialize,
Mm-hmm.
and that was but I think as well I'm just acknowledging that when this is not to point the finger at anyone because I myself want to validate to anyone listening is I know how easy it is to get to that point and
Mm.
sometimes it just happens. It's I think it's not fully in your consciousness or maybe the way we compartmentalize things we
Mm-hmm.
don't realize we're doing it. Then a couple other ones it says is additionally practice self-care. So I mean I think that's something we can talk about in
Mm-hmm.
what actually even is self-care, who knows. But actually self-care in regards it says getting enough sleep and eating nutritious food, which are just side note, quick story. So when I'd just been forced on leave and I was still really, really angry with my CEO and everyone else, even though they were really just caring for me,
Mm-hmm.
I got this call. Actually, I'll give her credit. I got called from a consultant called Stella, and she said, Helen, I don't know why, but I really feel I need to invite you to this retreat I'm having. So off I went to her retreat, and she had a nutritionist speaking. And the nutritionist said, before I'm even going to speak to you about nutrition, you can be doing everything great, but if you're stressed and your body is constantly living filled with cortisol, and you're not sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to lose, like you're going to hold on to weight even if
Yeah.
you're eating all exactly the way you were supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And the light bulb moment for me was again, we know I was in a really bad state. I've already kind of let you guys know that, but I was also wasn't sleeping. I
Mm-hmm.
was lucky to get maybe 2 or 3 hours a night.
Mm.
Um, and hearing these messages behind good sleep practice, it was literally life changing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but also that also leads into emotional well-being because we know if you're not sleeping, you're not very emotionally balanced.
You're cranky
So
pants.
I mean, it's all interlinked.
It is
Um,
all interlinked. I don't want to interrupt you, Helen, but just wanted to add something, but I'll wait for you first. Yeah.
no, I'm just so yeah. I just wanted to, I suppose, to sum up what I've just said. I've just Googled it and it's told me those things. I've just shared my side note story
So
of sleep changed my life. So
let's expand on them because people
yeah,
can Google these things too. They don't have
mm,
to listen to a podcast. Let's
no,
have an opinion about that.
yeah,
And as we've been talking about this affirmation,
mm,
we have this opinion about affirmation, and I'm requesting you to critically analyze your affirmation before you print out, put it. And if you have that, write a backstory to it. Don't
mm,
just believe in it because somebody sold that to you. Yeah, I'm
mm,
amazing doesn't work when you have made five mistakes. Okay, it's kind of a skips the idea of learning from the mistakes, and you can then say, "I love learning, therefore I'm amazing." You can say that. So don't
mm.
take it out. I'm amazing, but have a backstory to it.
See,
That's
I'm a fan of not going. Oh, no, I'm not a fan of not going too big. I love going big. But if I'm starting small, and I had to reflect
Mhm.
back to this time last year, a really good affirmation for me could have just been be kind to yourself.
Yeah. So again, so that's one. So I'm learning, be kind to yourself.
Mm,
These are some of the really good ones that you can come up with. Now, the
mm,
second point you had mentioned earlier that you got the not the Google research, but the one that you were talking to people and you found out that some people were reframing things and were looking at only the things which are in our control. And
Mm.
I want to like kind of share some really important, not important, but something that people can really benefit from. I guess that
Yes.
from my reflection on it. Of course, this is not an absolute fact that I'm going to talk about, but
Mm.
I'm just going to share some of the things that have worked out for me. Okay. I used to take things very personally.
Mm.
Okay. I still do in many cases, but there's a little bit of awareness in it. So what happens is, let's say, if I give you a call and you don't give me a call back, I would say, oh, damn, she's ignoring me. That's the
Mm.
first thought which goes into my mind.
Mm.
Now, this is again living in that duality. That is
Mm.
either things should happen according to my desires, or if they are not happening, they're not happening according to my desires. So it's
Mm.
either the flip side of desirable outcomes. But if you look at it, if you critically analyze it, you'll see a sense of narcissism in it. That is,
Mm.
if she's not calling me, she's ignoring me. What if you take
Mm.
the me out of it? What if she's sick?
Mm.
What if she is not ready to discuss something with you because she's afraid?
Mm.
What if she wants to give you a call, but she doesn't know the outcome of the call because she thinks that you are outraged? What if
Mm.
she's not calling because
Mm.
she said she'll call you at 5 o'clock and it's 10 past 5, and if she calls you, she'll have to apologize and you'll say, I've been standing here for 10 minutes.
Maybe it was the different time zones.
Because maybe it's a different time zone. Imagine that when you start looking at
Mm.
the factors within which we exist, there
Yes.
are so many factors that the other person standing over there may look at us, judge us based on what we're doing, not doing, and all that, because they are the only observable things. The actions
Mm.
are the only observable things. But the lack of actions or the actions are impacted by so many factors. Let's say if I tell you I'm going to call you tomorrow night, and then
Mm.
come to learn that someone back in India, let's say, is injured, right? And
Mm.
I'm now talking to them the whole time, and then I come to know that they're not that injured. They were just a little bit injured, and now we're having a chat for like 2 hours, and we're like laughing and giggling. And you're thinking, sitting there thinking, he's ignoring me. I'm like, okay, maybe I have nothing to do with you. Maybe I'm just giving attention to my mother. There's giving attention to mother has nothing to do with ignoring Helen. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah. I mean, we know I live in a household of late teens, early 20s.
Mm.
And one thing they say all the time drives my husband crazy, but one thing they do say is actually two things they say is it's not that deep,
Yeah.
and also it's not about you.
Yes.
Which in the moment it'd be completely maddening. But I think if you strip back the attitude behind it, which is often delivered in within my household, they're actually good tips.
Yeah.
Like
And
just with exactly what you're saying, like
yeah.
realizing you don't always have to put the you frame on it.
Yeah.
Like it could possibly, like maybe that person had a bad day.
Yeah, but also
Maybe.
let's because in the time of, and I'm only saying all of this because in the time of sadness, none of this would make sense. So I'm just going to add something to it
Mm.
which will assist us, because when you're angry and somebody says maybe she's having a bad day, or maybe she's just talking to her mother, you go, damn, but why not me? Yeah. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go back to what your friends have told you about
Mm.
doing things which are in our control,
Mm.
right? And I'm going to add the wise self to it. So
Mm.
let's kind of bring that together. Let's say I'm expecting something to happen from Helen towards me.
Mm.
Should be calling me, or Helen should be doing something for me. Fine.
Mm.
Now she's not doing it, meaning that means she's ignoring me. Or I can now think, okay, there are multiple factors which Helen
Mm.
operates within, and maybe I'm a very small creature in all of that.
Mm.
So taking the attention away from us, some people have talked about don't take things personally.
Mm.
So then you will say, okay, I will just do things which are in my control. That is,
Mm.
I'll text her that I'm still waiting, or I will keep doing other things as I'm waiting for Helen, because I
Mm.
can't make Helen call me.
Mm.
I'm just going to do things in my own hand. But now
Yep.
let's add the wise self. If you
Mm.
are about to do something which is in your hand, which is what Helen's friend said, and there's
Mm.
an emotional rage to it, don't do it, because that's not
Mm.
your wise self. So it's not like, say you're waiting for Helen. So I'm dividing into steps. You're waiting for Helen to do something. It's been 15 minutes. She hasn't done it. Of
Mm.
course, you're disappointed, and that's fine. You can be disappointed. That's okay. Now let's just
Mm.
do things which are in our hand. That is, you can let her know that you're waiting and that you're going to move on and do something else. However, do not text if you're still angry. So
Mm.
you text, write it down, but don't even write it on your phone. Just write it on maybe on your phone, but on your notes, and then send it after 5, 6 minutes because maybe you don't need to send it because she might have already
Lots of
called.
our lots of our listeners are going to want that made into a poster for their parents.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't
Yes.
text while you're angry.
I mean,
Wait
yeah. I
till
mean, just
tomorrow. Because
because
that's an issue I mean, and it's something we see a lot. We're not going to go down that road because we could talk for two
yeah,
hours on it. But I think we see within our sector daily that what that kind of
yeah.
moving forward in that emotional
Absolutely.
self
But what
does.
I was saying, what Helen's friend said um about doing things in your control have actually been talked about in psychology, mythology, spirituality, sociology.
Mm,
This particular trick about doing what's in your hand has been talked about widely in different forms,
mm,
such as do the deed, don't worry about the fruit. That is spiritually
mm,
speaking. Just do what you can do not worry about the fruition of it because result is not in your outcome,
mm,
in your hand. And another way to say it is focus on the process, don't worry about the product. That's another
mm,
thing. Why? Because the people who are going to buy the product, the people who are going to have the outcome that is Helen needs to call me, is not in your hand. It can never be in your hand because Helen
mm,
has three daughters, one son, one husband, dogs, uh, and she's driving. There are so many different factors Helen has to look after.
mm,
So this thing I'm expanding now. So we had from qualitative gathering, you had one called affirmation. We talked about it.
mm,
Second was about doing things which are in your control,
mm,
and is what has been spoken a lot about: process versus product, deed versus fruition,
mm,
outcome driven approach, don't have outcome driven approach, have a process driven approach. All of these
mm,
we've talked about. We actually hear it in different sense, and I'm telling you that these all are hinting towards doing things which are in your hand and not and that has worked for me. And how I put it is I don't take it personally,
mm,
because to take it personally is dismissive of so many other dimensions that exist other than me.
mm.
I mean, Helen should call me and I can be angry and disappointed.
Do you
Yet,
need to get something off your chest? Did I not call you back?
yes, now I'm gonna
Yes.
say it. No, 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 no,
No.
because
Um,
you're right in front of me, and
let's
I'm listening.
I let's move on to one of the points we just saw, and you said we were going to talk about it, so I'm going to raise it again.
Mhm.
Let's talk about mindfulness.
So, um, okay, I when I say I'm gonna talk about mindfulness, I don't have all answers of mindfulness. Of course, I would love to know
We
what people
expect you
do.
to.
Okay, good. So one of the so that's the third thing. So let's say we start with affirmations. We talk
Mm,
about second thing is about doing things which are in your control.
mm,
And I remember your friends talked about reframing, but reframing will come at the end when we do the mindfulness. And there's another thing
mm,
that I can add. So now the third thing being mindfulness. Mindfulness is kind of sold very differently in different cultures or different
mm,
organizations, right? So
mm,
I'm going to
mm,
just talk about my mindfulness.
mm,
An easier way to be mindful is to be present to what's happening. And that is one of the other
mm,
affirmation that I have. Now, being present has within it some challenges. So within being present has two divisions, pain and suffering. Like if
mm,
I'm not in pain, I'm suffering. Okay, so what can we do about that? Okay.
mm,
So and then people can look at various ways of being present. You
mm,
may need a friend to bring you to the present, by the way. And
mm,
when people say, "Oh, Saurabh, what do we mean by being present?" Well, it's a very simple way to say it. You can't be in the future, you can't be in the past, physically talking. So if you're
mm,
talking about your past, you're talking about your future, that is psychologically created in that very moment, right? So
mm,
anxiety is not about fear. Anxiety is about uncertainty in the future.
mm,
If you know something is coming your way,
mm,
then you're not anxious because you're preparing.
mm,
When you don't know the outcome, and that's why people say don't be outcome driven. When you don't see what's coming up or you do not know, that's the uncertainty which creates anxiety. Now, for
mm,
example, let's say I'm driving to your place, let's say, Alan, yeah? And my GPS is working, everything is working fine. At that time, it looks like I'm a confident driver. But as soon as I come to your area, let's say my phone dies or something and the GPS is not working anymore. And suddenly now I'm not a confident driver because I don't know if I took the left turn, then I start looking at the speed limit.
Mm,
People are talking to me. I say like, hey, don't talk to me right now because I don't know where I'm going. We start focusing on a lot of things.
mm-hmm,
Now, one may assume if they watch me from a distance that I may come across to them as not a good driver. But it
mm,
wasn't that I wasn't a good driver. It was that I had uncertainty that where I was heading was right or wrong.
mm,
Would I get to the destination that I had thought about? And
mm,
that is where people live in the future.
mm,
Living in the future, the uncertain future, which can create anxiety in the present. So the being present, physically we all are in the present, we can't be in the future. Is
mm,
being present is a this psychological term where you
mm,
go in the future, oh my God, I don't know what the outcome would be. And then you come back over here and we add the second point that we were talking about. Do what you can do today. Do the
mm,
deed, don't worry about the fruit. Because if you do the best you can do, not from anxiety context, by the way, because that would not be the wise self. And this is when sometimes we need friends. Sometimes
mm,
we need our phone to remind us, hey, are you being wise? Uh, the social connection that you talked about, like having that structure in your life where you know that those people are on your speed dial
yep,
and and create that because otherwise we are not independent. We don't have answers to everything. And
mm,
even if you do have answers to everything, is having answered the solution of everything? No. Content was never a problem. You just said a few things from the Google. So everybody knows how to look after their well-being, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be just happen automatically. I need friends. I'm telling you, I have to call my friends. And if I don't talk to them, there are times where I would struggle.
mm,
And then I have to. So for me, mindfulness was come to the present moment and
mm,
become aware of two things. Thoughts, are they going in the future?
mm,
Are they driven by the past and therefore going in the future of uncertain outcomes? And second, how am I feeling in that very moment?
mm,
So for me, these are the two questions I ask. What's going on with me? Oh, something happened yesterday and I'm incomplete with it. Oh, okay.
mm,
What does that mean? Oh, it reminds me of the childhood that I
mm,
was rejected.
mm,
Cool. So yesterday something happened which makes me feel rejected or
mm.
undervalued. What does that mean? Oh, it means that in the future I would die alone. Oh, hang on a sec. Is that true? No. Well, then come to the present. Now, sometimes I need a friend to bring me here.
Yeah.
Okay. You will need a friend or a bluey or a television to bring you here or affirmation to bring you here.
Mm,
Therefore, my affirmation is being present. I did not buy it from anywhere. I just wrote it myself. Why? Because I know that this is why I wrote the word be present. I didn't write it because it looked good at a shop. Being present means psychologically bringing your mind to how you're feeling, what is happening. Does it remind you of the past? So this is the last sentence I'll tell about mindfulness, or maybe second last. We aren't seeing the present. We are seeing a version of it determined by the past. Yes.
mm,
So let's say when I see a dog, if I've been bitten by a dog, I'm not seeing a dog, I'm seeing a danger.
mm,
Version of the present, be present. Version of the present is highly influenced by the past. This is where you need the friends, critical friends to go, are you sure it is danger or are you sure it's a dog?
mm,
Yeah, this is where you make that distinction go, be present, as in acknowledge the present. Do not let your present look like your past. Otherwise,
mm,
you are dismissing the beauty which is right here. And I think that's
mm.
when I need my friends, or some people need me at that time. And I may repeat the same thing and go, oh, thank you. I'm like, hang on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not that we forget. It's just that we want to be reminded of. So that's for me, that's mindfulness, being
Mm.
mindful of your present. Mm. How does that sound? Helen?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really good, and I think we need to be mindful, of one of your favorite things that you love to talk about is connection.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's really important. for us to work out who we have that connection with, who we can have those really honest, trusted conversations with. Because, sometimes we do need people to say to us, hey, you're not a caveman. The dinosaur is not chasing you. You're
Yeah.
actually okay. Sometimes we need to hear that and we don't want to hear it. So we need to work out who we're going to allow to say those things to us.
Mhm.
Because as you said at the beginning of this podcast, it's so easy to go, don't tell me what to do. So we need to
Yes.
find out who we have that connection with, who
Yeah.
we are okay to hear that from.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like this is such a huge topic, and we are probably coming to the end of today's podcast really soon.
Mm.
Um, I think one thing we can do for our well-being is just by constantly trying to increase our awareness.
Yeah.
Like as soon like and I know people will say, Helen, you're insane that this was not on your radar. But as soon as I went to that retreat I spoke about and the nutritionist spoke to me about sleep and I really then like sleep became at the forefront of my awareness,
Mm.
like it was life changing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it
Mm.
was just it um I think I struggle with words because it seems so stupid. Oh yeah, of course, Helen, you started sleeping and you felt better. Yeah, 100%. But I think, just once it came into my awareness, or like today, if you've heard something about the podcast, I don't know what mindfulness is. I'm going to go and check what mindfulness looks like for me,
Mm. And everybody
you
will have a
know,
different version of it. Yeah. Hmm. Mm.
even I mean, emotional well-being might be something you've never actually really thought about before because we
Hmm.
know humans are busy, especially
Yeah.
humans in our sector. I mean, look, I'm not saying it and no one else is busy as well, but we know humans in our sector have like their brain is thinking about 10,000 things at once. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of the time, our well-being is the last thing we're thinking about. But
Yeah.
just think bringing awareness to the forefront can really
Can really
probably help
benefit.
our emotional well-being.
And that was my last edition. I've written the four things down, and it was awareness,
Mm,
self-awareness.
mm,
And I like, but just touching on your point that you mentioned about our sector, I want people to also appreciate or acknowledge that, you know, day to day, I get to consult many people, many from our sectors, many not from our sector, and I'm
mm,
realizing people have tough lives
mm,
and they impact us. You might be working in, let's say, education sector,
mm.
but you were waiting for a delivery, and the
Mm.
delivery guy had a bad day, so didn't transfer the thing that was meant to be transferred, and now you are angry, impacted by the delivery guy, and the delivery guy is
The
also
delivery guy impacted me yesterday. I was running an intergenerational session and
yes. That's what I'm saying. That there's
he
so many
he
factors.
delivered my resources that I needed one day too late.
Yeah. So there
So
you
I've got
go.
them now.
Yeah. So there you go. How many factors influence someone's performance or someone's
Mm,
existence or someone's being present? My dad is an engineer. I mean, he's retired now, and I've seen his life. He was so busy, so many things going on for him. Yeah, his behavior towards me wasn't towards me. It was about all the things that were impacting him. So was my mother. Yeah. So being aware. Now, Helen pointed out about the sleep awareness. So I'm going to talk about the word awareness, my version of awareness.
mm,
I have a circle that I'm drawing in my workshops now. And I say to people about awareness allows you to have a choice, and the choice is what is empowerment. So let's go back to the word awareness. Where it's not that you didn't know that sleep is important, but when you became aware of why sleep is important, you had a choice. You had something to do towards it.
mm,
You could have ignored that information. You could have accepted the information. Yes. And you chose, right. Now that is in the forefront of me, I became aware of it. I now have a choice to do something about it.
mm,
So many times awesome things will be around us, but we may not be aware of them. With having a social network, listening to podcasts like this, or reading or exploring, makes us just aware of something that we just didn't know that. And you
mm,
go, right, now that I know it, I can do a PhD in it, or
mm,
I can ignore it, or I can share it to other friends.
mm,
Now, why do I say that having a choice, as in, trust me, people, if Helen didn't know about that, if Helen wasn't aware of that, she would have not slept with that mindset. Doesn't like, and it feels like she just didn't have a choice. And she had a choice when she became aware of it. It's like if I don't even know a musical instrument exists, and I keep saying this particular one, sitar, in my session. If I didn't even know, if I'm not aware that this musical instrument exists, there's no way I'm gonna go and learn it. I'm not gonna
Mm,
go and pay someone to say, "Can you teach me sitar?" Because I don't even know it exists. I'm not aware
mm,
of it. So now Helen becomes aware of something and she has a choice. And what the outcome of having a choice is empowerment, as in you get the power back in that area of your life. So I give an example. If people are struggling with the word power and choice, let's not have a choice and see how we feel.
mm,
If you have to do something, if you must do something because somebody told you to do it, we feel that lack of power, like because you don't have a choice.
mm,
Oh well, I didn't have a choice, so I had to do it.
mm,
That's a lack of power. You feel powerless.
mm,
When you have a choice, you can do this or this. You go, well, I get to decide.
mm,
And if you, so in life, what we are creating, I believe, or what I'm trying to create, I can't say it, is to have choices.
mm,
Is to just be aware of certain things. So you go, who can I be in this very moment?
mm,
So I'm going to now share some one of the biggest epiphanies that I've had in the recent time, and then I'm gonna recap, and then I'm gonna ask you your opinion, but then
mm.
recap the four things that I've written on my piece of paper out of 50 things that we could talk about, right? So recently, when I was finishing up my thesis, my supervisor will give me
He's a
feedback.
doctor, if you don't know.
Oh, thank you. Uh, I would get feedback from my supervisor.
Mm,
Now, there was a time that my supervisor, Jenny, who I have high regard for, she and I always talk on the phone. So I
mm,
called her and I said, and I got angry at one of the feedback that I had received. And I
mm,
know that I think Jenny knows that you just have to let Saurabh finish and then maybe we can talk about it afterwards. So thank you, Jenny. But,
mm,
anyways, as I was talking to her, I could see rage in me. I was
mm,
angry. It's like, how dare they? How can they say that? What do they know about childhood? Da, 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 all of that. And then I stopped because it reminded me of my second affirmation about the wise self. And then it reminded me about the mindfulness. What is it reminding you of, Saurabh? And this is what used to happen when I was a kid. As a kid, I used to get hit as a part of my feedback. So let's say if I score less marks, my teacher will whack me. My parents will give me a whack. So feedback was equal to being hit. Whack,
mm,
whack, whack. So there were two ways that I could deal with as a child, either to be scared of it
mm,
or to comply with it. Being
mm,
scared is fine, easy, because they're gonna. So mostly I was scared, put it this way, and I complied with the best I could. Like if
mm,
I don't score enough marks, I'll try to score marks. I mean, that's all I can do. But when I gained power in my life as I grew up, the flip side of fear is anger. So this is how
mm,
trauma works. Okay, trauma works in flip sides. It works in duality, and I told you I'm going to talk about duality like a
mm,
couple of times. So the way I thought I was healed was that if I'm not scared, I have I can be angry. Okay,
mm,
so because it's the polar opposite. I think, oh, I'm healed. Great. Look at me. I'm not scared anymore. But hang on. Are you angry? Like, yeah, well, then you're not healed. Okay. So you're still dealing with, but you're just dealing it with power this time. You're like, you think, okay, I'm going to show you how dare you give me that feedback, right?
mm,
And so that means I had no choice. I'm, I'm just reacting. I'm not reacting
mm,
out of choice because out of choice, why would I be so rude to my supervisor? In
mm,
hindsight, why would I ever be rude to my supervisor? But the way I acted as if I have no choice because at that time, amygdala, and we're not going to neuroscience day,
mm,
because then I'll talk 2 more hours.
mm,
But at that time, my amygdala was like, pom, 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 react, react, react. So I reacted instead of being scared, the flip side of it, angry at the feedback. I'm going to
mm,
show you. So instead of running away, I fought it. And
mm,
that's when I realized I act as if I have no choice. And in that very moment, being present meant right now, I'm getting feedback from my supervisor This is not somebody hitting me as a kid.
Mm,
This is not the past repeating itself, Saurabh. This is
mm,
someone telling you how to become a doctor. Okay? So
mhm,
you just stand here and choose who do you want to be in that very moment. And that's what I mean. When you become aware, you can catch it and you go, I choose to be angry, that's fine. Or
mm,
I choose to be the student.
mm,
And that's when I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I've just learned I don't have any other way of being than angry right now. And that's
mm,
powerlessness. And that's when I said, okay, I'm listening.
mm,
So that's what I mean by, so let's of my 4 points. These affirmations about I'm a learner
mm,
really helped me on that day. Okay. This affirmation that I can only do what I can do through wise self really helped me that day. The thing about being mindful, become present, really
mm,
helped me that way. Becoming
mm,
aware that the past impressions kind of corrupt the present moment really
mm,
helped me this way. So you have to find out what are your 4 or 5 things. Otherwise, if you just buy things from outside and put it on your wall, when you're having a bad day, when somebody is talking to you, your supervisor is telling you something, and you look at your fridge magnet and it says, I'm awesome, and you say, they are wrong. The feedback is wrong because I am awesome. Like, are you sure? Because that affirmation is not helping you right now, is it? So that is what I mean by my take on self-awareness is. So I'm absolutely with you on that, Helen. Your view now,
mm.
Helen. Yes.
Wow. It's so huge. I don't even know where I'm gonna go. Let me see. So, one, I would like it if I could just buy the poster and put on the wall and it did fix everything.
Hmm.
And I'm very disappointed that I've actually got to do some work myself. Uh, but two, I think I just want to say for anyone listening and's got this far in our podcast, that well-being is such a huge topic. We haven't even begun
No.
to touch the
Hmm.
even just we haven't even made an indent. um I will say for anyone who was listening throughout our podcast and I and heard me talk about sleep and was like, yes, sleep is my problem. I just want to give a little more context from a well-being standpoint of view.
Yeah, yeah.
The one thing that changed my world about sleep was sleep routines. So
Hmm.
please, people, if you're having trouble sleeping for whatever reason, Google Google sleep routines. I don't know, hook up with someone. Message Stella Stead and ask her who her nutritionist was. Hook up with her. Sleep routines changed my life. Because I think that's the other thing. Once you get that awareness, you also need to do some work, which is so boring. I know.
Yeah.
We're talking about no one having any time, and now you're telling us we've got to actually do work. Um, I think well-being isn't an easy topic, especially emotional well-being,
Yeah.
because we don't often like to share our true emotions with people. One, that's scary. Two, we don't want to be
Mm.
judged.
Yeah.
But I will say one reason why I think the two of us work so well and why we have such what I would like to say strong friendship, and I hope you agree, is we are super open with each other.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's not great. Sometimes we hear things.
You don't want to hear.
Sometimes he tells me that I'm being dramatic, and I don't want to hear that. I want him to agree with me and tell me I'm right.
And sometimes I would
But
agree also, and then tell you dramatic afterwards.
yeah, so I think again, finding that person you can be
Yeah,
fully open with is really
person or a
important.
group of people. Helen, there's one thing I want to add here, and I want to just make sure that we give people something to start on.
Mm,
And I think what I'm
yes.
going to say hopefully would help you with that.
Mm,
We spend 100 hours before we can drive a car.
mm,
And we give it with a network. We have coaches for that. We
mm,
have parents, family, network. We keep a log, also known as journaling.
mm,
Because I have a journal right in front of me. I have a journal here. And when
mm,
I don't have that journal with me, I have these notes that I take. Okay, so um, we do all of that to be able to navigate our way on roads.
mm,
if you want to navigate or negotiate with people in your life, you might have to give 100 hours for that too.
Mm,
You give 100 hours with people that care about you, the people who will teach you, show you. Now, they're not the best drivers of the car either, but they still help you how to drive your car because
mm,
they are able to help you because they're not driving. So they're not in the same emotional state that you are in. So they're able to tell you, hey, don't panic, or try not to panic, or apply the brakes, all of that kind of thing, because they are there who care about you and they are not in the
mm,
driver's seat, sorry.
mm,
So until we have given 100 hours, how can you and I, we are given education, but we still haven't been given education in relation to emotions or thoughts or psychology or sociology or spirituality or ideology and all of that. We haven't had those discussions yet. And
mm,
we are here standing there getting promotions at work or not getting promotion at work. Some people are talking to us nicely, some are not. And
mm,
children are not talking to us nicely. All of that is happening to us straight away.
mm,
So you and I do not have a manual what to do now. So let's
mm,
grab it. And the kind of things that we are talking about are not rocket science, but they just need practice a little bit. So the four things that I've written, affirmation, but what type
mm,
of affirmation? Uh, do the deed, don't worry about the fruit.
mhm,
As in, take do things which are in front of you, which leads to
mhm,
being mindful, that is being present. Don't let the past impressions affect the present beauty.
mhm,
And all of this will help you become aware to give
mhm,
you choices, self-aware about thoughts,
mhm,
about feelings, about impressions, to give you choices to act out of wise self. This
mm,
is where the last thing, this is where you start reframing the events around you, which Helen's friends have already mentioned, that you become aware and you go, all right, instead of acting out of anxiety,
mm,
if I do the things which are in my hand with the right network around me, I see this as a learning opportunity. I am
mm,
disappointed. You should be disappointed. I'm angry. You should be angry. That's fine. But we don't have to act out of disappointment,
mm,
act out of anger. We can still act out of wise self.
mm,
And this is my, uh, what do we call this? Recap. I'm like, I
mm.
forgot the
So
word.
let me just check your recap because I want to make sure that I've just written
Okay, I'm
down
listening.
the correct notes.
Okay.
I've
So,
written first, my first point, I've written affirmation. The
mhm.
second point I wrote was be patient. The third
Okay.
point I wrote was awareness. And the fourth point was reframing. Was that correct or did I get it wrong?
You and I have different 4 points, and that they all work out. My 4 points were affirmation, but
Mm-hmm.
critically analyzed one.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of be patient, I said do what is in front
Oh,
of
you
you.
know what? I can't even read my own writing. I wrote it actually says be present.
Yeah,
But
okay, so there you go. So my second point was do the deed, which you can do in your hands. Okay, so that's
mm-hmm.
second. The third one was being mindful, which was be present,
Mm-hmm.
like you said. And the last one was let's work on our self-awareness,
Mm,
understand what my thoughts are, what my emotions are in that very moment, and where it is all coming from.
mm,
Yeah. Which then allows us to have choices in our life, how to
mm,
act in a given moment, which is the wise self. So that's how I put it. But
mm. And I'll
um,
really, really add, please, please be kind to
oh
yourself.
yes,
Because
please
I
be
think
kind to
often we
yourself.
are so hard on
Mhm.
ourselves and also acknowledge that if you choose to work on these four things, um, it's change is not a straight line.
Oh yeah,
And I think I talk about this a lot when I do training sessions. I know, Saurabh, you talk about this as well. Often when we try and change something, it often gets harder before it gets better.
yeah, yeah.
So just like stick with
Mhm.
it. Don't just go, oh, I tried being present for a day, it
Yeah,
didn't work. I tried affirmations for 2 days,
yeah.
it didn't work. Like actually be patient, see what happens. There's a reason why there's all that stuff out there,
Mm.
especially in the fitness world, about how many days it takes to change a habit. And
Mhm.
it's not just because it's great fitness catchphrases. It's true. It
It's
takes
true. It
work
takes
to
time.
change habits, and same way, it's going to take work to reframe, to for you to be
Mm.
able to reframe or think differently. Well-being isn't easy. It's why we're not talking about it. It's why I think a lot of people aren't talking about it, because what
Mm.
is the answer? And as you've heard today, I've struggled with it in this episode myself.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure once we press stop today, I'm going to get some great light bulb moments and think, why didn't I not think of that?
well,
But
we can
I
have another
think
one. Not a
I've
problem.
got my 4 points to go away and
Yeah,
look at.
yeah.
Um, and
And
I'm
I
going to
just want to
try and
add one more
focus on
thing.
those things. Sarah, what did you want to add?
I just wanted to add what you just said about how it takes time. It takes time and energy, of course.
Mm,
But one of my mentors once said to me, have problems in your life worth your time.
mm,
This is a problem which is worth my time. I do not
yes.
want those past traumas to keep repeating themselves.
Mm,
And I want to acknowledge them. I want to work with them. I'm going to stay with them, not so that I can get the outcome of healing,
mm,
not from that context, but becoming aware of it. Just becoming aware of it and the impact it has on my life and the people around me.
mm,
That's a problem worthy of my life. And
mm,
therefore, the time it needs, I have time for that. I absolutely have time for that. So it takes time, and that's what you have. So thank you very much, Helen, for being my co-host for this awesome episode. And I think we can work on it, come back to it, see what
mm,
challenges that people you can let us know what challenges you have had.
mm.
But we are not gurus of this. We are just sharing our own personal experiences. And if it helps, it helps. And if you want to help us learn something from you, let us know so that we can also learn from the you guys. Till the next episode. Helen, if you have anything to say,
I think, Sarah, I really don't have anything more to say, but I will just finish up with, we always know I need to have my non-serious point, but in the world of well-being and all of us in our endeavors to work on our well-being and just being able to show up for the kids we care for every day and the people we work with, I will
Mhm.
say that Sarah and myself, spend a lot of time talking about our dogs. I was going to let my dogs make an appearance on camera today, but they've
They're not.
disappeared. Normally I shut the door and they're crying at the door. I purposely left the door open today and they've disappeared. But dogs are something we spend a lot of time showing each other on video, sending photos of our dogs. And that is something that actually brings us joy.
Joy,
So I
yeah.
really
Mhm.
encourage all of our listeners, find something. It doesn't have to be big. Find something that brings you joy and focus on it. If it's your
Yeah,
dogs, you know, it could just be a quiet coffee before your day begins. It could just be
absolutely.
standing outside on your grass. Find something that helps you. Um,
Ground,
and
then be present. And
yes,
I
that is,
you said
yep.
something, and I just want to add this as a last thing. You're
Mm-hmm,
not on this alone, neither are we. And that's
mm-hmm,
what Helen is trying to say. We always communicate with each other. We are not in this alone. So if you feel that there is a reason why you need to get in touch with us, let us know.
mm.
And we might want to, we'll see what we can do about that.
And like we said, we're not well-being professionals, but
Yeah, but we'll try to help as
we're,
much as
we're
we can.
ears. We like to listen.
Yeah,
We are passionate about the sector we are in, and
absolutely.
like genuinely, I think that's even how our actual friendship first started. I
Yeah.
think we did a training session, and I reached out to you a few times, and it just went from there. I don't know if you feel that was a positive escalation, but that's how we got here.
It is,
So
it
no,
is.
please,
So,
listeners, genuinely, if you want to reach out because you are feeling alone,
mhm.
please chat to us. Like
Chat
I
to
said,
us.
we're not well-being professionals, but we're really happy to hear you out and just be an ear.
Well, thank you for listening to us, people. And
Mm.
and it's a longer session, this one, but we still haven't touched what we wanted to touch on completely. But thank you very much for being a participant of that. Look after yourself and the people you love. From Helen and for myself, from We Belong Education Podcast, it's a goodbye for now. Thank you.
See you.